Hello again, everyone. It's been quite a while. I gotta kind of get my gears moving back into place here for doing an update video because it's been so busy. It's been so busy trying to get things done, as always. I want to do updates more frequently, but it's like I keep getting into I get on this video and I started working on this thing, then we're doing some commentaries here and there, and just I can't quite squeeze it in there in between different things because everything kind of overlaps to a certain degree, or I jump into something so quickly after the last thing is it's not quite the right time. And when I'm in the middle of a project, it's do I want to spend a piece of my day kind of doing an update video and editing it and uploading it and stuff like that? Or do I want to keep working on the video I'm working on? Well, I kind of choose to keep working on the big project instead of doing an update, so pile of stuff comes up here. It builds up over the last God knows however many weeks, and other stuff to talk about here on the channel here. So let's get us set up with what has been dropped recently on the channel. So we've got commentaries for Point Break and Aliens. Now, Steve and I kind of did those, and I kind of suggested Point Break because we were trying to fill in a little bit of a gap in the schedule that we kind of had because of other scheduling issues. It was a 30th anniversary of Point Break. We're trying to do a couple of James Cameron related things, so that kind of that fit in pretty well. And of course, we had Aliens on the books for a very long point of time because it was the 35th anniversary, and we already did the first film for Ridley Scott during the spring, so we kind of planned that out. No real plans for any future installments in the franchise because Steve has only seen Alien 3 once, and that was a couple months ago. And it was only the theatrical cut. He's never seen, as far as I know, nothing else in the franchise after that. So, don't want to kind of just do a commentary just for the sake of it. I'd like to have him have a certain depth of opinions to kind of go off of instead of just okay, just watch it once. And on this version, I don't know a whole lot about the film, stuff like that. So, it wouldn't be as informative or kind of meaty and juicy. I think it would require a little bit more time to pass and stuff like that. So we don't have any plans for Alien 3 or AVP films, stuff like that. So that's what we have at this point in time for that. But as I said, we're doing James Cameron stuff, and we've been trying to get together with Trent to do a three-man setup again to cover the first two Terminator films. And we are recording at least the first film this coming weekend. So the three of us are going to get together. We're going to record at least that. Still have to ask them, can we squeeze in the second one? I don't think we quite can with the schedule we have going on. But at least we'll get the first one in the bag and can release that pretty quickly. And then we can move on to some other stuff that Steve and I have in the queue here. We've got a couple things swirling around here. Because this week, the Dead Zone Collector's Edition is coming from Scream Factory. New 4K scan, tons of fucking bonus features. They've got 4 audio commentaries on that thing, but we're doing one anyway. We're going to do one anyway. I think it's probably going to be landing sometime in September. Maybe a tad bit earlier, but we got penciled in around September or so. So I have that on order. It should be arriving tomorrow from Amazon, and so I'll definitely get very thoroughly into that. I still have the old Collector's Edition DVD that was put out long time ago from Paramount. I did my old review video on about in 2014, so it's been a long time. Get to revisit it. Steve has reread the original Stephen King story, so same thing we did with Pet Sematary. He's going to have a lot of things to discuss. He's already said he's got almost kind of conflicted things to discuss about the film and the book and all the adaptation and stuff like that. A lot of interesting stuff, so I'm very excited for us to get to the Dead Zone. I think it's a fantastic film. Got to get into it. Little Cronenberg there, and definitely Stephen King. We've got some other things planned on that horizon. Now, we got some other things that are coming up eventually on that queue, but losing track. We got a couple things in the stack here to kind of plug into that later on, but that's at least what we have kind of cemented where it's going to land. Saw films are still... They will come back. I'm still contemplating exactly how we want to structure things out. So we're going to figure things out in due time about where things are going to go. And we got some other interesting, cool stuff kind of swirling around up and down the schedule there. But review-wise and stuff like that, I just dropped the review for Outlander. this sci-fi film from 2008 with Jim Caviezel and Jack Houston, Ron Perlman, John Hurt. It's something I kind of talked about in an update video almost a year ago, where I kind of upgraded the DVD to Blu-ray and kind of had it in the thought process of doing it. I just kind of finally decided, yeah, I got some very big videos, a lot of big projects I'm getting to shortly thereafter. I kind of wanted to get something that I felt like I not get done quickly, but it'd be a little bit more of a lightweight type of thing, but ended up being kind of difficult getting into the whole process of making the video and editing stuff. It got kind of jammed up and took longer than I expected it to. So that's why I kind of took the majority of the month to get another video of that ilk out. But I was very happy. I kind of resurrected right after I shot the Outlander videos when I shot the Blu-ray news video. So that shows you how long it took from when I shot it to when it got released. Roughly about 2 weeks. Because I edited the Blu-ray news thing and got it released the day after. So I pretty much like, well, I've got all the lights kind of set up. All I got to do is kind of rejigger a few little things, kind of move some lights around and set up the LED lights, set the floodlight, and kind of sit down on my nice little stool I have here for the retro video series. It worked out nice. I like the setup for it. I think it was a little bit more manageable. Because I said, Blu-ray news stuff was always kind of difficult because you can never anticipate when the news is going to drop. So you're kind of in a scramble. If I want to do something that was kind of a digest version, it's like you collect all the samplings of different pieces of news, kind of put together into like a single digest version of a video. It's hard to do that. But when that much stuff drops in 1 week, it makes it easy for you. But some other titles that have been announced from like Kino Lorber, they got a lot of stuff licensed from MGM, but they're just announcing titles right now. They don't have any specs or anything like that involved with it. So I'm going to hold off talking about those things until there's something like more of substance to kind of discuss and kind of comment on. Blu-ray news stuff, the videos, I'm going to keep doing them. It's going to be more of an approach of not just like grabbing news every time something hits. I'm going to wait till there's certain titles and certain things I want to discuss. More of a discussion piece, but I'm also going to have a news report of what's included on the disc, what the transfers are, when it's hitting, and some other things. But when I have something I can at least feel like I have something to comment on. So it's going to be a little bit more like that instead of trying to scramble together pieces of news to make it worthwhile. So I think it'll be a much more manageable thing. I want to keep that going and bring it back on the channel here. So that's cool. And I'll talk about all the stuff with like when I was editing the John Carpenter's Vampires video. I just kind of like, okay, it's Saturday morning. I want to get this thing done. I got to spend the whole day editing. So I just put on Carpenter film after Carpenter film just in the background here just to have stuff going, because I can't just sit here and edit. I got to have a little bit of a background noise or something like that, kind of give my brain a little bit of a rest and kind of take a break here and there and stuff like that. So I watched like Escape from New York and Christine and Big Trouble in Little China and a few other things here and there. So I was going to watch my Prince of Darkness 4K things, but I didn't get around to it. So that's another thing. But anyway, so I got the John Carpenter's Vampires thing out. You guys loved that. Very much appreciate it. Hopefully you'll check out the Outlander one, because that was a film that I feel like really deserved a whole lot more attention than it actually got because of problems with distribution and things fell apart and certain things with funding and backing, investing, stuff like that on the film. Didn't come together as well as it possibly could, but I think it deserves a lot more attention for a lot more respect to give to the vision and the quality that was put into that film. So there'll definitely be a link at the end of the video of this one to go check that out if you're interested. So we got that. Retro video series stuff. No, this is a longer thing, but there's a lot of things to talk about. So retro video series, when I get back around to it, I will be doing the video on the Ron Howard film Ransom, between the Laserdisc exclusive extended cut and the regular theatrical cut that's been put out on every other format. So once I get a few more things kind of caught up here and there, I'm going to take a break, do that, and come back into other things. So on the review end of things, the next thing up is the 1998 X-Files Fight the Future movie. Sorry, mispronounced my things. So that's the next thing up, but I do have to do a certain length of research. I got to watch certain episodes of the series, because the film is all about the mythology stuff for the series and all that type of stuff. So I have to watch. There's not a whole lot of them I have to watch. But I do have a series of them to watch to get up to speed on what was going on with that storyline. And I'll check out some other episodes here and there. I've been watching a couple like the Monster of the Week stuff just to get the overall sensibility about the entire series all over again and just be able to integrate that into the critique of the film. So there's a lot of stuff on the Blu-ray. I've got that big old fucking... I am not going to read through that entire goddamn book I got. It's like 120 some odd pages, and I don't know if I'm going to get through all of it, but I'm going to at least try to pinpoint what is necessary to discuss about it, mold that down, and trying to figure out how to approach everything for that film. So, that's a big project that's going to take a fair... I'm estimating at least 2 weeks. From the start of when I actually start watching episodes, it'll probably be later this week, to when I actually get to the production, and hopefully towards the end of editing, maybe 2.5 weeks. So we're talking about a half a month here to get into that whole thing. But we will have the next commentary track up and probably a couple other things I can hopefully work on. We will see. But that's up there, and everything else I'll probably leave to the end of the video for random ramblings. So let's get into media pickups over here. There's a lot of stuff over here. And of course, talking John Carpenter, I did decide, because there was this was right before Prime Day, and there's a bunch of Screen Factory titles getting discounted, putting on sale. There are coupons going around, so I grabbed up They Live 4K, because I only had this thing on the DVD back when Screen Factory just released just standard DVDs, not like a combo pack, just a regular DVDs like fucking ages ago. So I decided it's about $20, and that was a really good price for grabbing this up on this type of price for the 4K remastered version with the Dolby Atmos and all the other great stuff that was already on here. But brand new transfer, great stuff. Thing is, I haven't had a lot of time to watch this stuff, so I'm trying to comment on them as in general in a certain way because I've been so busy. But in regards to that, don't really know what else they're going to get up on the John Carpenter 4K stuff, because a lot of the other stuff is through MGM, like Escape from New York and The Fog, and maybe one or two other things. Obviously, The Thing itself is being released through Universal, so that's not in their thing. Obviously, they have the 4K coming out of John Carpenter's Halloween, where everything's a little kind of spotty in terms of the different studios they're kind of landing at and see what's going on. Obviously, like I said, Kino Lorber picked up a bunch of MGM titles. No one really knows if any Carpenter stuff got filtered into theirs, because at least the license for Escape from New York lapsed with Screen Factory last year, and you can still, I think, get one of the... I know with The Fog you can still get the regular collector's edition. Steelbook is sold out. I don't think you can get Escape from New York at all. That is completely out of print from them. So no one knows what they got, but they've been announcing a bunch of interesting titles. We'll just have to wait and see what happens when and wherever, who grabs what. But this was, I think this had a coupon. I think this was on the same type of thing, but I finally got the Frank Langella Dracula film. I've been kind of urging myself to get for fucking ever, because I reviewed this thing back in the first year I was doing videos in 2013. Wasn't the greatest video in the world. But I did touch on a little bit with the color grading changes that John Badham, the director of the film, made when they originally did the first Laserdisc widescreen pressing, and they used that master for every future home video release until Screen Factory got the license and went through and did a restoration for the original theatrical color grading. I guess maybe there's like maybe Reel 2 or Reel 3. It's a little rough in some places. I haven't had the chance to watch it, but I've been back and forth about doing like a Redux review on it. I don't really know that I'm going to, but I really just needed to get this goddamn thing, because I even got the pan and scan Laserdisc a couple of years ago just to see how the film originally looked, despite the fact that half the fucking frame was gone. But so I can get rid of that for like pennies now. But it really needs to be seen. It really does need to be seen regardless, because Gil Taylor, who had shot The Omen and Star Wars, wonderful cinematographer, not talked about enough, really shot this film gorgeously. Just so lush with the colors and the way he lit everything and shot it all. It's absolutely beautiful. And Langella is just absolutely hypnotic as Dracula himself. Wonderful stuff. And obviously Donald Pleasance in this thing. Sir Laurence Olivier. Wonderful cast. Really classy picture. I think it's really worthwhile for anyone to check this film out. Go ahead and look it up. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. It's a little bit of a slow, kind of romanticized Dracula film. It's not like heavy on horror, but it's got a lot of interesting, cool type of stuff. Again, performances are fabulous. Stuff like that. John Williams does the score for the damn thing. You can get that from Maurice Sarabande. They put out a deluxe edition soundtrack a couple years back. All on wonderful stuff. All over the stuff. But as there's something we got coming up at the end of August for commentaries. I haven't bought it yet, but Child's Play 2, which we did some time ago, long time ago, came up on a little bit of a coupon on Amazon, so I snagged this up for about, I don't know, $7. The third film's been on Netflix for a while, and actually the anniversary date comes up at the end of August. It's like the 30th anniversary. So we are going to go back to Child's Play for Child's Play 3 to do it on an anniversary commentary for the third film. God, I can't wait, because that film was a 9-month turnaround time. Steve says he didn't think it was that bad, but I got to check this sucker out. I've been not watching it yet. I got to watch it up on Netflix, and I got to order it. We got to get up on a little bit of that. I'm not saying we're going full bore to Bride and Seed and all this other stuff. We got to at least close out the original Child's Play trilogy. And I know they announced a TV series and stuff like that. I haven't watched any trailers yet. I haven't got up on that stuff yet, but finally grabbed this one up. I don't think it was quite. I can't even remember. It's been so many weeks now. I think this was slightly discounted in a certain way. And after we did our commentary for Valentine, this one's constantly just been kind of batting around to me, because Urban Legends is one of those weird ass fucking movies to me. Saw it in the theater. Didn't think it was very scary. I've always had this goddamn nagging things like, man, the idea for the film has a lot of potential. They didn't quite get there. They didn't quite execute it to really kind of twist it a little bit around here and there. I didn't think they quite got the concept completely molded out to where it would be really effective or really clever and smart, stuff like that. I don't know what we're doing with this film, but I had to get the goddamn Blu-ray. I have the old DVD. I reviewed it way back on my old WordPress blog. Easy for me to say. But it's just one of those things, like there's a stinging thing in there. Maybe maybe I'll convince Steve we got to do a commentary on this just so I can get it out of my system. Because I got to get it out of my system. But the fact of it is, this thing has fucking shit tons of goddamn bonus features. There's like a 2-hour-long documentary on this goddamn movie. This thing is bursting with shit. Where it's like, there's so many other widely celebrated films, even of the genre, that don't get nearly as much love. I have no idea where this outpouring of fucking commentaries and behind-the-scenes stuff and gigantic fucking documentary and stuff like that. I don't know. But I'm going to have to sit down and watch it at some point in time, because I just have to get it out of my system to do a full purge of it through my critique, and just at least have Steve there to discuss the thing with me. They kind of bat it around a little bit, see what the hell he thinks about it if we ever get to it. I haven't even pitched it to him yet, but I guess I am now. So there's that. The other thing I pitched to him, or kind of maybe he almost inadvertently pitched to me, was that I remember when we were doing our commentary last year for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, the remake, he had mentioned, because we were talking about like the horror films at the time, stuff like that, coming out early 2000s, he had mentioned that he had recently rewatched The Ring from Gore Verbinski, that version, and he saw that it was a lot better than he remembered it being, and that has been on my mind since we recorded that damn thing. And the problem is, the Blu-ray that you can get directly from Amazon is like a BDR. It's like someone just burned it on a regular disk drive type of thing. It's not like a pressed disc, and I wasn't terribly excited about that. So the problem was finding a copy of it somewhere that was the original kind of pressing in a certain way, and I finally found it. Amazon had a couple of marketplace listings, and it was cheap enough for me, and I decided to pull the trigger, and I got the goddamn thing. So I'm going to watch this thing for like the first time in like 19 years or something like that. So 19 or 18 years. So I will watch this. I will confer with Steve, and then we'll probably slip it into the schedule at a later point in time, as well as a copy he gave me of The Mist, another Stephen King adaptation, directed and all that wonderful stuff by Frank Darabont. So have to watch that as well. So we're going to be having those kind of like an auxiliary type of thing. Whenever we don't really know exactly what to fit in the schedule, we can slip those right in and just jump right into it and have fantastic things to say about these interesting films. And another interesting one, something that came out recently from Paramount in a nice steelbook, was a kind of lesser regarded, or at least lesser recognized, John Hughes film that was Some Kind of Wonderful. And I've had this on DVD for a very long time and watched it a long time ago. And when I saw that they're putting it out on Blu-ray on its own in this kind of fairly nice steelbook, stuff like that, it's like, yeah. And they had some new interviews and some other little things. Again, I haven't gotten it popped into the player yet. But apparently the transfer is not fabulous. They didn't do any kind of remaster, but apparently the transfer is pretty good. And they put in, like I said, new interviews with like the director and various other little things. So it's kind of a cool little thing. Kind of an interesting thing is like it's got Leah Thompson and Eric Stoltz. And Eric Stoltz was originally cast as Marty McFly, as you'll know from Back to the Future. So him and Leah Thompson are now in this John Hughes film together, like maybe 2 years after or something like that. Back to the Future happened. They clearly had scenes together, that thing. So interesting, and it really works. Stoltz is great in this thing. Leah Thompson, always wonderful. It's a really, really good one. It's a really good type of film to really kind of, if you watch most like the big John Hughes films, Ferris Bueller, Breakfast Club, stuff like that, really need to check this one out. It's also got Elias Koteas in it, who's always awesome. All this type of stuff. So it's like one of these things. Like it's definitely. I don't know if I'm actually going to do anything with it on the channel, but I do really want to mention it to you guys because I think it's really worthwhile to check this one out. I think it had a lot of heart, a lot of good quality, high-end type of stuff put into it for John Hughes, writing the whole thing, and same director. I think it was for Pretty in Pink or something like that. So it's just a really, really solid piece of work, and it's like. Really should definitely check it out. They have like a 4 or 5 film John Hughes pack that has the same disc in it, but I really want to get the standalone steelbook for it and stuff like that because I already had Ferris Bueller on Blu-ray and I didn't want to have to rebuy stuff like that. And I thought the steelbook was kind of a nice little kind of perk uptick type of thing. But another film that just recently got a Blu-ray debut from Paramount is the John Travolta action film, The General's Daughter. This also has Madeline Stowe and Timothy Hutton, Clarence Williams III, who recently passed, who is a phenomenal actor. James Woods is in it too. So Simon West, who did Con Air and kind of ups and downs in his career. He did like Expendables 2, but he also did like the real bad remake of When a Stranger Calls, stuff like that. But I like this film. I caught it a long time ago on Netflix, like long time ago. Grabbed it up on DVD. Had an inkling, I think it was like late 2014 or something like that, to maybe do a video on it, but I never got into it and stuff like that, never got around to it. Other things came up on the schedule and it kind of flew away. It's back on the agenda, it's back on the list, so have to sit down and rewatch it. It's got an old commentary from Simon West and some deleted scenes and behind the scenes featurette, stuff like that. So it's got a little something to it. I didn't even realize, because they didn't include any of this stuff in the press release, but this was apparently from the old DVDs, stuff like that. So it's kind of nice when I got this and saw they had this stuff on here. It's like, that was more than I was expecting. So kind of nice that all got poured over without me even realizing it was on the old disc. So good stuff. I think it was a really, really nice, solid type of thriller. And so it got a lot of bad reviews at the time when I watched it several years ago, I thought it was pretty effective. I thought it was a pretty solid action thriller. So I think it's really worth checking out. Apparently the transfer is pretty good. I sampled a little bit of it. Might not be the absolute best type of thing, but I've seen worse. I've seen a lot worse, and I had a nice, solid piece of film grain over it, not too obtrusive, good solid colors, nice sort of contrast here and there. It was pretty well handled. It was pretty well handled. So, like I said, it's been around on streaming services, stuff like that, for a long period of time. So, it's a respectable transfer. It's a really good type of thing to really check it out. I think it's a good film. But Aussie, something I don't even need to say anything about, I finally upgraded my old DVD version of Jackie Brown. There we go. Get off the glare there. But it's my favorite Tarantino film. I haven't seen that many of them, so bear in mind that I've seen like 3. I've seen this, Pulp Fiction, and The Glorious Bastards, and that's basically it. So don't get on me. But I saw this in the theater in '97, and I've been in love with it so much since then. It's a fabulous movie. I think it's Samuel L. Jackson's best performance he's ever put on. I love what he does as Ordell in that movie. Obviously, Robert Forster, awesome stuff. Pam Grier, off the charts. Just so much good stuff. So much good stuff. Michael Keaton, Robert De Niro, all this stuff is fabulous goddamn movie. Like I said, I've had the DVD for the longest time, but it's like, it kept being around like $10 or something like that, $9.99, something around that range. I think I got a little bit of a discount on it on Amazon. They had another coupon or something, or sale, so just grabbed it. I just had to grab it. It's a fantastic goddamn movie. I just absolutely love it so much. Elmore Leonard stuff is awesome. If you ever watch the series Justified with Timothy Olyphant, that's all Elmore Leonard stuff. Awesome. Out of Sight is also Elmore Leonard. That's why you have Michael Keaton in both films playing the same character, because it's all based on like the same series of books and stuff like that. So I hear Out of Sight is also getting a 4K restoration. I think it's Keanu Lorber doing it. I'm not entirely certain, but it is getting a 4K version. So that's going to be very interesting to check out. I want to go back and check that one out again. I watched it maybe about 4 years ago or something like that. I was like, it was good. I wasn't fully taken with it, but I could give it another look. See, I had it on my Blu-ray wish list for a hot second there, but then the 4K got it, and I was like, I'll hold off on it. Because I'm sure Soderbergh will be very much involved with making sure that film looks absolutely exquisite. And because he's the cinematographer, the director, the guy has a very specific way of shooting his films and making them look and feel in a very specific type of fashion. So I'm sure he's very intimately involved in this new 4K version of it. I think it'll look absolutely fabulous for Out of Sight. And obviously, Jackie Brown's awesome. But another thing I grabbed up, because this finally did kind of drop down in price. I think it was probably around the same time as everything else was kind of getting discounted before Prime Day, and I grabbed up this Shout Factory Bill and Ted 2-pack. Technically it's a 3-disc set, but it's got Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey on it, because I only had the old DVD versions from like 20 goddamn years ago, and I was like, I had to finally upgrade it, and that dipped below $30, so I was like, I had to grab it up right then. Had to grab it up right away. So I don't think I know there's an Arrow version where they did a 4K for Excellent Adventure. These are still kind of the same old kind of stock transfers that are around from MGM that gave them to Shout Factory, but they got a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes information on the whole goddamn thing. A lot of cool type of stuff. So you got this, and then you got this interior where they got the double poster images. So we were going to see Bogus Journey in the theater. It was just like, I think it was at the discount theater. It was a really hot day in the middle of summer. We went to see it, and Bogus Journey soundtrack is the very first CD I ever owned, and I still have it. And it has the very first Kiss song I ever heard, which this guy gave Rock and Roll to You. So, just a lot of good things I can say about Bogus Journey in terms of that regard, but it's been a long time since I watched these. Trent and I have kind of batted around, kind of putting it on the schedule, so it's kind of tentative on the schedule, just a matter of when we get around to it, because he kind of was covering the third film, which I have not seen, and he has, and so we're batting things around in that regard. So that's there, and I figured for the prices dropped too, I was like, I can't pass that up. at all, period. So, really cool type of stuff there. And my two last recent acquisitions here is it's like I've been buying a lot of stuff lately. I was like, some stuff is coming up I want to get, but let me hold up just a tad bit, a little bit, before I buy too goddamn much right now. So I eventually did pull the trigger about a week or so after they were released. The Paramount Presents remasters for 48 hours and another 48 hours from Walter Hill. It's like, I really want to revisit these. I want to cover these for the channel. I was almost gonna pull a trigger on doing a review right the fuck away for 48 hours, but let me take some time. Let me not rush into things. It's like I need to revisit it, refresh myself on it, not just jump headlong into everything going on. It's not a whole lot of bonus features, but they did 4K remasters on both films. The first film has about a 20-minute interview with Walter Hill. Got the little fold-out poster thing with the new artwork on the outside. And stuff like that. And they got trailers and a few other things. So, just interview with Walter Hill on both of them and a trailer for each of them. I know a lot of people were really hoping that another 40 hours would get a extended director's cut, because apparently there's some incongruities with the first film in terms of continuity and a few things that need to be explained. It's been like 8 years since I've watched these films. So I haven't watched them since before I started doing these videos on the channel. Not the updates, but the review videos. Because Bull to the Head was Stallone and directed by Walter Hill, was coming out in 2013. And I was like, let me rewatch the 48 hours films before that comes up, so I can get a bit more Walter Hill flavor into me before I went off to see that. So Bull to the Head was like the first or second video I did on the channel before I even had the HD camcorder. So don't go back and watch that. Don't go back and watch that. It's really bad. It's really bad quality. You don't want to deal with that. But these two films, I really, really feel like I need to really examine them, kind of look into them, research them a little bit more, dig into them to a certain degree, and get a real fresh sensibility about them. Because you think about Eddie Murphy stuff, almost a lot of people will go to Beverly Hills Cop and then maybe Golden Child, Coming to America. This was a little bit different of a tone to start with. A little more removed from that. It's a little bit more directed like a Walter Hill action thriller type of film, cop thriller type of stuff. So a little bit of a different vibe. Closer to like maybe Red Heat to a certain degree. Because you go into Red Heat, you think it's like a regular Arnold film. It's going to be kind of quippy, stuff like that, here and there, whatnot. But it kind of comes off much more paced and structured and toned out like a Walter Hill film. He doesn't really kind of bend towards kind of leaning into the Arnold sensibilities you'd have from like a Running Man or Commando or something like that. It's much more of a straight Walter Hill type of film. So kind of feel that type of energy and that vibe there. So I really want to get into these films and kind of dig them into all this other random wonderful stuff. I haven't even got into touching these things into the disc player yet, but there's a lot of interesting stuff to get into, and other interesting, big, overwhelming projects going on. Because there are like TV series that goes into a film and talking about early reviews on the channel and redoing things here and there. I want to finally do a new video on the 2006 Miami Vice movie. But fuck me, every time I go back and look at a certain discussion thread somewhere, more fucking shit pops up about how screwed up the goddamn production of the film was. How many setbacks they had, so many impasses, so many random goddamn things happening that felt like, god damn, this thing was a disaster to a certain degree. So many things kept going wrong all over the place with this production, where I could almost make the entire video just about the production problems alone without doing a critique on the movie. So this is a really fucking digged in type of thing, because I gotta watch the theatrical cut and the director's cut and listen to the main commentary, go through some featurettes that won't matter much or anything, but I have to do all the research to all the stuff I've found about the behind the scenes on this film, which keeps building up to further degrees. It's like Now they did that. They had to go back and do this and post to kind of fix this and screw around with this to do visual effects to kind of fix this scene. Whoa, boy. This one's going to be bad. I wanted to get it done for because it's the 15th anniversary. The X-Files thing is going to creep up, kind of encroach on that sort of release date. I don't know exactly when, but it was August of 2006. So it's not terribly important that they release it right on the fucking anniversary date, but it's going to be there. So X-Files is going to be a little bit more interesting and a little bit fun in a certain way for me to get into. Go back and revisit the series to a certain degree. Get into various things, kind of talk about that type of stuff. The Vice thing is going to be a very kind of fucking loaded goddamn thing. Oh boy. Oh boy. This is going to be a big one. It's going to be a big fucking messy affair. I'm going to have to write up a fucking chart or something like that. I'm going to have to do what like Steve likes to do, is like the board with the strings and the photographs and all this type of stuff to figure out what the fuck was going on with that production. It was a fucking mess. So that's up on the board. And I'm gonna obviously kind of quiet down the horror reviews, because I've done kind of a balance between both the horror reviews and just kind of regular reviews. I want to kind of put a little bit of a ease off on that until we get closer to October, so that feels a little bit more special to a certain degree. And I do want to cover certain other types of like action films, stuff like that. We'll see what happens here and there, but basically that's the foreseeable future here. X-Files, the Miami Vice thing, James Cameron Terminator commentaries, stuff like Child's Play 3, and a few other random weird things coming up on the queue here. So that was a big long one here. So that's all I got at this point in time. Definitely, like I said, go out and check my video on Outlander, that film. Really worth your time, I think. Right now it's up on Amazon, a couple other things. You can watch it right up on there. You have to rent it. It's not exactly a prime title, but apparently Lionsgate now owns the rights to it, so it should remain pretty much easily locatable on the streaming platforms for quite some time, I'd imagine. So Lionsgate kind of acquired the rights from all the stuff that came out of the discretion of the fucking Weinstein Company, which is no problem to me whatsoever. So that's all I got for you guys at this point in time. Hope you've enjoyed the commentaries we dropped recently. I hope you'll check them out. If you get the time for them, definitely hit us up on social media. Tell us what you think and how you kind of react to some of our opinions on the various odd things in those films. So thank you so much, guys. There's always that Patreon. That stuff helps. The Patreon helps a lot when you guys can chip in a little bit to get the little early access to things, to get all this other wonderful, cool stuff. So that helps make this stuff work here on the channel. So more getting after Patreon, the more time we can put into this stuff on the channel here. So anyway, gonna depart now. You guys have a good time. But thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.